So, as I understand it, quite a few of you are probably in the process of applying or at least working on your essays for applications. I know transfer students, you have until April to apply, so you might not be sort of looking into it quite yet, but you could be. I think you're able to apply pretty much whenever you like up until April. So, if you are a transfer student applying, hi, you should definitely get in touch with me because I have all the intel on being a transfer student, or at least most of the intel on being a transfer student. And for those of you just applying to be freshmen, hi as well. I hope you guys are excited to come to Lewis and Clark, and if not, I'm prepared to tell you reasons why you should be excited. Basically, I'm here to break it down for you what drew me to Lewis and Clark, or what typically draws people to Lewis and Clark. Obviously the list could go on and on and on and on, so I'm just going to pick sort of the big four and break it down from there. Alright, so to start, academics. Obviously everybody talks about how incredible Lewis and Clark is as a school. We have incredibly talented professors with crazy good backgrounds in research and writing and just so much academic knowledge here as a school. I think my favorite thing about my professors is that it's really novel to me that I can take a class with a professor who has done so much with his or her life that we can actually study his or her works. It's really interesting, especially in my psych classes. We'll be talking about these broad psychological concepts that obviously, lots of people have worked on, and then we bring in these sources that are research articles by, my professors when they were younger, and it's really inspiring and interesting, and I love that there are so many research opportunities on campus because it means you get to be a part of that interactive experience, and you get to be sort of expanding the field with your professors who are doing this on their own anyways. So that's definitely an interesting element of the school. I definitely love it, and I think it's something you should consider when you're looking at schools, is sort of what the teachers have done, and especially if you have a focus sort of already in mind, definitely keep an eye out for people who are interested in that. One thing people might not be aware of currently, just based on the way the Lewis and Clark catalog is set up, is that even though we don't have a neuroscience major set up yet, it is in the works, and we do have incredible neuroscientists at the school. So if that's an area of interest for you, I was pleasantly surprised that that is as prevalent here as it is. But definitely keep an eye out and look at teachers' backgrounds and sort of what they've done, because they've done a lot. You wouldn't expect it, but they've, a lot of the professors here have been really accomplished in their fields. Other than academics, everybody talks about academics, and obviously as a liberal arts school, we're going to have great academics, but I think there are other important factors beyond that, as you will see, scattered throughout my written blog. I've definitely brought this up where I think more so than academics, you really need to look at atmosphere in determining where you're going to go to school, because it's not just where you're going to school anymore, it's where you're living. This is potentially going to be your new home. So it's very important to consider three things in my book were people, the location, and the size, because those all can have a really big impact on what your experiences are like as a student. So at Lewis and Clark, I love the people here. I think it's a really great interactive community. It's not especially cliquey. There are obviously circles of friends, but if I'm listing my circles of friends, I would say I have at least 6 or 7 sort of little sets, and then they can all easily fuse into one just sort of jumbo set of friends. So I wouldn't say that there's a group of people and they don't hang out with this group of people. It's pretty much completely relaxed. You can sit with whoever you want to sit with. I love the freedom of walking into the dining hall and knowing that I have at least one table of people who I'm comfortable sitting with at every meal. And the same goes, I love being able to walk to classes with people, and it's definitely a more connected community than I think you might be able to get other places. Especially, I for one was considering UC Santa Cruz, and I can't imagine that I would have the same sense of community there that I have here. Another thing I want to mention is location. There's a couple ways to break this down, and in all senses, I would say Lewis and Clark wins. To start, Portland as a city is great. There's a lot to do. It's relatively safe in my experience. I, for one, come from a pretty small town, so I was a little afraid to go into a big city. I definitely wouldn't have taken on someplace like Los Angeles or New York. That's a little bit too scary for me, but Portland is relatively simple. It's easy to navigate. The public transit system is awesome. And people are generally pretty nice. Like, I think it's really indicative that if you ask someone in Portland for directions, they will give them to you. Like, people are willing to help. They're not offended by your talking to them. And it's a pretty friendly place, which is surprising for how big of a city it is. In addition to Portland as a city, there's also the component that Lewis and Clark is kind of removed from that. You know, you drive up a big hill and we sort of look out over the city, which A, is how we get our beautiful, 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 pristine campus, and B, is how we get our tight-knit community, because though we have the option of going off campus, at the same time there's so much on-campus community building, which I find invaluable. You know, I really like the option of hanging out with my friends in dorms and being able to safely and comfortably do stuff on campus at night. You know, if we were in the city, we wouldn't, I mean, we could, but we probably wouldn't play Ninja, which is a game that a lot of students play on the weekends at midnight, which is just this, like, crazy battle royale kind of game that you can't do if you don't have the property we have and the sort of lush forests we're surrounded by. So I love what we get by having a secluded campus, but the fact that our campus isn't so secluded that you feel trapped. There is still stuff to do off campus, and if anything, I think being able to do so much on campus and get to know so many people on campus means that you can better enjoy stuff off campus because you can go together. And I don't think you necessarily get that if you had just the one or just the other. So I also like Portland because A, my oldest brother lives here, so I'm familiar with it, and in a sense, it's still like being around family. You know, it's not my parents, and they're not going to come baby me, but it's nice having somebody who's established in the city and can help me out if something goes wrong, or if I just desperately need to get something. And that's also true for those of you who just have friends in the area. I mean, really, if you know someone with a car, that's an immediate perk in terms of Portland, I would say. But also, for those of you from California, I'd say Portland is a plus because it's far enough away that you feel like you have your independence, but at the same time, there's somewhat of a safety net there. Like, granted, people aren't going to drive up to Portland just all willy-nilly, but if you really need your parents or your family or whoever to come up, it is a possibility from California, which is nice compared to, you know, the East Coast schools where if something goes wrong, the last thing that I would point out regarding Lewis and Clark is the size. I came from a high school that had 110 to 120 students, and then from that I went to City College, which had just thousands and thousands of students. It was huge. So Lewis and Clark is definitely, for me, more of a return to high school, which is what I was looking for. I like the idea that walking to class, I can bump into a couple people I know, and granted, I don't recognize every face I run into, or at least I don't know everybody's names or whatever, but at the same time, I definitely like feeling like I'm involved in the community, and that gets accomplished just by knowing people's names and recognizing faces, and it makes it feel more like home. If I were at a bigger school, I think I would feel like such a fish out of water, because every day for years I wouldn't recognize people, and that would be really hard for me. So if you're looking for a place to immerse yourself and really call home and really have a community, I would really recommend Lewis and Clark. And even if that's not what you're looking for, please get in touch with me and let me know what you are looking for, and I would be so happy to talk to you and assess whether or not Lewis and Clark might be right for you. And if you have specific questions or concerns, just send me a message or post a comment or send an email. There are a multitude of ways you can get in touch with me, and please, I encourage you to use any or all of them, because really, I'm here for you guys to talk to. It's not just me blabbering on at you, on and on. The hope is that eventually one of you guys will get back to me with some profound question, or just any question at all, really. I look forward to talking to you guys again soon, and I hope you enjoyed my video. Yeah, have a good week. Okay.